him is Avenue Gregory.
Thank you for indulging me. I have this picture that I want to show, and it's worth 1,000 words. I'm Frank McLaughlin, 18 Star Street, New London. I'm the project manager for RCDA. I also serve as chairman of the Economic Development Commission here in New London. And I'd like to address you this evening regarding the potential for connecting the Fort Trumbull Peninsula with downtown New London. Both the Commission and the RCDA board recognize the need for this connection. Implementation is a matter of timing, design, and functionality, and as always, money. Timing? Not now. Certainly it's appropriate to have a public conversation about the possibilities and potential for this connection. However, we need to be sure that the demand will be there for the successful implementation of this project. The functionality of such a crossing will be the result of the design. It needs to be practical. Getting folks from point A to point B, in this case from our waterfront park to the peninsula. This is the end of the waterfront park. I'm sure you're aware of that. And this is the peninsula. And that would be the shortest correct connection that we could make. If truly practical, the connection would be as short as possible, as I just pointed out, thus from the very south end of the waterfront park to the closest point on the north end of the peninsula. The problem, that landing point on the peninsula means that a walk from the landing point to any location on the peninsula, whether to the proposed housing, which is all the way over here and here and here, or to Electric Boat, which is all the way over here, or to the historic fort, which is all the way over here, creates quite a long walk to get to using the short bridge over here. That gives rise to the practicality of a water taxi, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Adding the pedestrian walkway to the Amtrak swing bridge is practical in terms of cost, but not necessarily time, because during the summer months, the bridge is left open for long periods of time between trains to allow for boat traffic. Therefore, walkers and hikers would have to wait while the bridge is open for as much as a half hour. I think once folks realize this, it's likely they will not use that kind of connection. A separate bridge for pedestrians and bikes would have to be a swing or drawbridge, similar to the bridge that's there, or slope up high enough to cross over this waterway to allow for masts of the boats that are in here. And that would indeed require a very high bridge, which would require escalators, elevators, or stairs. It would have to be much higher than the proposed bridge over the railroad tracks at Union Station. Another idea is an aerial tram. It's very interesting. You can run an aerial tram from somewhere in the city up, over, down, and to other locations here. The problem with an aerial tram, of course, is it would be very expensive to install. It has to be maintained, and it has to have personnel to operate it. There's an old tunnel that runs under the track, starting at the entrance to Captain Scott's, over right in here. It goes under the tracks and comes up. It used to come up in this area. The problem with that is that it's a long walk around to Captain Scott's. People will drive, block traffic at Captain Scott's. So again, it's not necessarily practical. Another possibility is a rail shuttle that would run from Union Station to a potential commuter rail stop at Fort Trumbull. Commuter train, like you see in airports, doesn't require personnel, runs back and forth automatically, and could connect to a commuter station here at Fort Trumbull. Moving on from the idea of a bridge or a tunnel brings us to the concept of multi-use trails and water taxis. The Economic Development Commission has made it a guiding principle not to let the Yale Urban Design Group study of Fort Trumbull gather dust.
1 minute.
Various committees of the Commission have been looking at ways to implement suggestions from the study. We worked in tandem with the Economic Development Committee of this Council. Chairman Spicacci attends Commission meetings, often with President Passero, and we attend Council meetings. Commission member Dr. Abel Donka has proposed that a multi-use trail for walkers, cyclists, and commuters be developed all the way down, around, and into Fort Trumbull. It's a long route. Cyclists would like that. I'm not sure that walkers would, and it'll take some time to implement the entire trail, but we are working on that. Another committee of the Commission has been studying the possibility of a water taxi. Purchasing and maintaining boats and hiring qualified personnel to operate them is an expensive proposition, but the ideas can address several issues for our waterfront community. It can provide pickup from several locations on the waterfront for from State Pier to downtown where our new marina is, to our mooring field, to the end of the pier, and then come over to Fort Trumbull. And the neat thing about the water taxi is it can drop at various locations.
Time.
Thank you very much.